I need to lose 40 pounds or I'm going to lose my job. Welcome to another episode of Reddit's Hot Asked Questions, where I take the trending questions in the last 24 hours. Personal experience, some expertise, some professional viewpoints, and some context. If you find this useful, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and let's get right into today's question. So, a Reddit user here asked, I need to lose 40 pounds or I will lose my job. That's quite the title. We have a lot of context, so let's get right into this. I am a 25-year-old female. I'm 196 pounds and 5'6". So stats are very, very important. Good start. And I'm in the military. And after joining and moving away in my hometown, I excelled in my career field, but I neglected my mental health and resorted to binge eating and coping as a coping mechanism. I started therapy and have improved a lot and lost weight, but I am not losing it as fast as I need to in order to meet the new fitness standards. It is a gradual process to break down addictive behaviors, binge eating, so I'm trying not to be hard on myself, but I get overwhelmed thinking about how much weight I have to lose. The amount I need to eat or exercise to meet the standard is what everyone advises as unhealthy. But if I can just get down to where I need to be, I can have a healthy maintenance. I don't need typical advice because my circumstances are unique. If I am not 40 pounds lighter by July, I am cooked. Please, if anyone has advice for this situation, I really appreciate it. I don't know if I need to literally pay someone to hold me accountable for my diet or something. I don't need a personal trainer. I literally need help with mindfulness and not falling off track and sticking to a short diet for a period of time so that I don't literally lose my job. All right, very interesting situation here. Essentially, what you have here is a goal, a time frame, and someone who is motivated, which is a good thing. Now, you can get pretty good results on a pretty quick time frame if you are dedicated and consistent with it. This is important. So at the time of making this video, it is 100 days till July, which is 40 pounds. You've got 100 days to lose about 18 kilograms. So you'd need to on average lose about 1.2 kilos per week, which is very aggressive. It is somewhat doable. You might not get the exact result you want to, but you can get close enough. So I'm going to give you some practical advice and tips that you can kind of dial into your daily routine from now on. It's a very good start that you're already working with a therapist to work on the mental aspect of binge eating and healing your relationship with food, because this is the most important thing. You're going to have to be in a very controlled and restrictive environment for the next 100 days, which is totally fine, because think of it as a summer cut. If you're doing a diet for summer and you want to get some results, and this is what you're basically doing right now. Anytime you have a moment that you might lapse, have issues with food that you need to deal with, if you're not doing them with a therapist, this will be a lot harder and the likelihood of you bouncing back is much, much higher. Now, as far as for the practical elements and the advice, you just need an aggressive calorie deficit. That's it. You need to be in an aggressive calorie deficit, high protein, lots of exercise, high needs, so lots of moving, lots of training, and be consistent. Now, if we take your stats, 25 years old at 196 pounds at 5'6", your deficit has to be quite aggressive, and a 500 calorie deficit might equal to about a pound a week. So if you're looking at a 700 calorie deficit, you might get away with 1.5 pounds a week, which is not what we wanted to, but it's close in that ballpark where you can sustain yourself. It is not healthy, but we're not looking for health. We're looking for drastic short-term results that we can then maintain. There are extreme cases you do these things. You have a holiday, you have to the last minute and you're lazy. You're someone who's motivated with a lot of pressure. There are cases where these things work. Not saying for everybody, not saying it's healthy, but it works for some. Just like bodybuilding, just any other sport, everything has a specific time and place that you can apply. The main things I would focus on, especially because you want to retain performance and you have a fitness test at the end of it, is timing your nutrition around your training and exercise. So if you're someone who's going to be training through the day to keep up and building fitness levels, you probably want to keep majority of your carbs around training. So before and after training, the rest of the day is probably going to be 99% you eating protein, lots of water, calorie-free sodas, beverage that will keep you satiated and full of kill the hunger. That's what I would look into. I would probably include a very brief diet break about halfway in, so 50 days or so in, depending how much you can tolerate, where I would bring your calories up to maintenance for a week or so, just to let your body reset your mental health, get back to a high carb diet. It'll also help your metabolism not get adapted to the lower intake, and for you have to lower the calories until you're basically just crashing, and then resume the cut and see how much you get. I'd honestly think in 100 days, 20 pounds is pretty realistic, and the 40 might be pushing it, but depending on how motivated and dedicated you are, you can get some good results. So that's my advice. Does anyone feel like just having a small portion actually makes the cravings worse instead of satisfying them? Very, very interesting question. This is a discussion I have quite often with some of my clients. I'm the kind of person who, if I have a piece of chocolate, I will have the whole bag. I just don't have self-control. And maybe my relationship with food needs to work. Maybe it's the dopamine or the bag, the fact that I know the bag is looking at me. But I know if I open a bag of chocolate, I will eat it all the way. All or nothing, that's with me. Not everybody's like that, and I'm jealous of you, but sometimes it does work like that. that. So sometimes, like you saying here in the question that a small portion makes your cravings worse is a thing. It's essentially when you deprive your mouth and your brain of a certain thing and you give it a little bit of a taste, you actually may not have more of it because you actually remember what it tastes like, so you start to crave more of it, and then your brain starts shooting signals, and dopamine and all these things set you up in a loop. So that's a lot of time binge eating cycles begin. So the context is, I don't know if it's just me problem, so having a little bit of something makes the craving so much worse instead of making it better. Like people always say, just have a small portion and you'll be satisfied, but for me it wakes up something in my brain and suddenly I want to have the entire thing 10 times more, which is what I just said. Have a little bit, your brain shoots signals, the dopamine overrides you, and then suddenly you want to have the whole bag and you lose all self-control. I actually really don't like those low calorie snacks that come in packs of like 8 to 10 portions, because realistically I'm not eating one portion, I'm eating the whole box, and when it's not low calorie anymore. Very, very good point. I feel like I do way better by not having it at all, or actually planning it to eat a full portion and being done with it. Anyone else like me, or do I just have zero self-control? All right, Reddit users. So I think this can be angled in many different ways. It is very, very individual, person to person. I think from a practical element, whenever I build a diet plan for any of my clients, I always ask them what do they like and they dislike, and I always try to include a little bit of the stuff they like. So if you're somebody who enjoys a bit of dark chocolate, because that's totally fine, I tell everyone to include a small piece of dark chocolate every day in their diet. They are satiated and they know that they are getting that reward, because a lot of us just like a sweet treat because it feels like a reward. It feels really good. It makes us happy. And I don't want to make my diet boring, make me crash, cut the thing out, include a little bit of the thing, and then suddenly me binge the whole thing instead of just having a little bit of daily. So I think the best practical advice in terms of this approach with dieting and having small portions is actually including it daily, because by the sound of it, it sounds like you're trying to including these things every so often. And yes, very good point on when you buy a low calorie snack, you don't consume one, you consume maybe 5 or 6, and then the low calorie snack becomes a medium or a high calorie snack in reality. Instead of having 5 low calorie snacks, just have a Snickers. Probably the same calories, probably will satisfy you a lot more, and you can still get to your goals. And naturally, of course, all of us could do with working more on moderation and self-control and all these things, of course, but you know, we are all different humans. We have a lot of other elements to consider. We have stress eating, we have time, we don't think about stuff. So if you include something small today to hit that spot, you're more likely to stay consistent to your goals and get better results. And that's my answer to that question. We have a very interesting one. I've regained all the weight, or GLP1. Trying the old-fashioned method of weight loss now. Context: I'm a 31-year-old female. I'm 164 centimeters. Good. But 4 years ago, I weighed 190 pounds or 86 kilograms. Okay. And my doctor suggested a semaglutide medication called Rybelsus. I didn't like the idea of taking the shots, so I went for the pills. I ended up losing nearly 30 kilograms, so 66 pounds, with the medication within a year. It was fantastic. That is amazing. I can see why people love GLP-1. However, the medication made me dizzy. They gave me bad gastrointestinal issues. I decided to stop the medication, and lo and behold, started gaining weight back again. From there, I tried 2 more times to take the medication, but I didn't have the same drastic results, losing just around 10 to 15 pounds at a time, and it was making me feel ill. I completely stopped the medication and unfortunately gained all the way back. Now I'm back to square one, weighing 84 kilograms again, or 185 pounds. I've decided I'm tired of this. I'm not comfortable with my skin anymore, and none of my clothes fit. I want to lose the weight and keep it off. I went to the doctor, and she told me if I'm serious to lose weight, I need to commit to a calorie deficit between 12 to 1400 calories a day. At first, I thought it sounds drastic, but I was eating even less than that when I was on the medication. That's crazy. It's been 1.5 weeks, and I'm getting used to a calorie deficit. I'm working out 3 times a week, and I'm trying to hit 10k steps a day. I am hungry, but I try to eat some nuts, berries, and water on top of the hunger in between. What's helped you lose weight without medications? Thank you for the feedback, stories, and I really appreciate part of this community. All right, very interesting question with a lot of great context and some very interesting comments here. Okay, so amazing results so far. You did really good, and GLP is a tool. It does work for some people, I know. I'm not against it. I've got no problem using GLP-1. The only thing to remember is you cannot do weight loss without GLP alone. You need resistance training. You have so much evidence to show that when you are on a GLP-1, your bones, everything else weaken. You need to resistance train your body to avoid osteoporosis, to build muscle mass, and avoid yo-yoing back. Build good habits, because if you stop the drug, if you stop the pills, this is what happens. You gain the weight back. So let's give you some real life practical advice on what you should be doing in order to lose the 30 kilograms and keep it off for the rest of your life, because we don't want the habits to fall away. You gain the weight back and reverse and repeat the same cycle. So great start with a calorie deficit. 12 to 1400 calories is already too low. Now I know you're shorter, you're on the shorter side, you're 164 centimeters, and you are a bit on the heavier side, and you've started resistance training, and you're also walking. So your activity is already up, and your calorie deficit is already at really bottom low, especially when you mentioned that you are lower calories with GLP-1. Your metabolism is adapted and used to such a low calorie intake that shedding weight at 12 to 1400 calories long term term is probably unsustainable. You more than likely need to bump your calories up, build, and stay at maintenance for a little bit with increased activity to create a bit of a deficit, and then start a deficit proper. So the way I would approach this, first of all, is actually up your calories and find the comfortable maintenance level. I'm going to say probably at 84 kilograms, you might be about 1700 calories, depending on how active and how intense your training sessions are. If we take the 1700 calories and you stay there at maintenance with whole foods, nutrition timing, and building good routine. You also mentioned that when you're hungry, you use water, nuts, and berries. Very good things. Berries and water are very good at killing hunger, depending on what you mean by berries. If it's like a handful of raspberries, that's great. High volume, low calorie. If it's like frozen or dried fruit with sugar, then, you're ruining the deficit. Nuts are probably the worst thing you can do to kill your hunger in a calorie deficit. Super calorie dense, super high fat, will not keep you full, will probably make you hungrier more than anything. I would go for some protein snacks. I would go for 0-calorie drinks. Stick to high volume, low calorie fruit for snacking to kill your hunger. Once you've built a maintenance level of calories for a couple of weeks and you're kind of used to a higher calorie intake, I would then take the calorie deficit to the 1400 calories, up your activity level. I probably would not cut your calories lower than 1400. If your weight loss stalls at 1400, you need to move more, a small diet break, bump your calories up to maintenance again, get used to it, because life under 1400 calories is miserable. You will be hungry, you will have so much food noise, and you will not be able to sustain it alone. Now, it's really good to hear that you're resistance training 3 times a week. I want to make sure the sessions are heavy, high intensity, so you're pushing heavy weights and you're really focusing on building muscle. You didn't mention anything about nutrition in terms of the macronutrients, but you should be aiming for a lot of protein. Like 1 gram per 1 pound should be a good start in the beginning. Lots of protein will keep you full, it will build muscle, it will make this whole deficit thing a lot easier. You didn't mention you have a time frame, which means we can make this fat loss long-term, sustainable, and realistic. So there's no real rush. You don't have a time frame like the one with first question in this episode, which is much easier mentally and realistically. And the last piece of advice would be to systemize as much of your life as you can. So improve your sleep, get your 8 hours of sleep, because lack of sleep has been shown to slow down fat loss and make it much harder to adhere to, because you get snackier, you get tired, and it will make your life a lot more miserable. And include some goals in your training to keep you motivated. So this is not about fat loss, but this is about strength training and building confidence in yourself. Maybe set a goal like to do a pull-up or a push-up off the floor if you can't do those yet, because the journey to get from there more significant and more than you chasing a number, getting obsessed over the scale. And when 1 week the scale plateaus, you lose, you get frustrated, you throw the towel in and repeat the same cycle, and we don't want that. That wraps up today's episode. As always, check out the links in the bio. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot, and I'll catch you in the next one.